We are out in great numbers, but we got a lot of work to do. And this is gonna be hard work, but I know we like hard work. Hard work is good work for all of us.
The 2024 U.S. presidential election is fast approaching. All eyes are on the candidates vying for the highest office in the land. However, the race for vice president is just as important. The vice president is next in line to the presidency. In this election, the vice presidential candidates are Tim Walz for the Democrats and J.D. Vance for the Republicans.
You could have been anywhere on a beautiful Nebraska Saturday in late summer, but you chose to be here for the most beautiful and simple reason. You love this country.
Tim Walz, the current governor of Minnesota, brings experience in state government and a commitment to public service. J.D. Vance, an author and venture capitalist, offers a fresh perspective and a focus on economic issues. The choice of a running mate is a critical decision for any presidential candidate. It can energize the base, attract key demographics, and signal the president's priorities. The vice presidential candidates will undoubtedly play a pivotal role in shaping the outcome of the election. It is important, therefore, to understand the history of the office of the vice president and how it has evolved over time. The founding fathers of the United States faced a daunting task in 1787, creating a new form of government for a fledgling nation. The Constitutional Convention was a hotbed of debate and compromise. Initially, the framers of the Constitution were unsure about the necessity of a vice president. Some argued that the president pro tempore of the Senate, an existing position, could assume the presidency if needed. After much deliberation, the delegates settled on a compromise. They created the office of the vice president as a safeguard, ensuring a smooth transition of power in case the president died, resigned, or became incapacitated. The vice president's primary duty, as outlined in the Constitution, was to preside over the Senate. This role was largely ceremonial, with the vice president having little power to influence legislation. In essence, the vice presidency was seen as a necessary afterthought, a constitutional insurance policy rather than a position of inherent power. The early years of the United States saw the vice presidency relegated to a largely insignificant role. John Adams, the first vice president, famously described the position as the most insignificant office that ever the invention of man contrived or his imagination conceived. The vice president had few constitutional duties beyond presiding over the Senate. They had no formal role in the executive branch and were often excluded from cabinet meetings and important policy discussions. Early presidents often viewed their vice presidents with suspicion, seeing them as potential rivals rather than trusted advisors. As a result, the early vice presidents found themselves largely relegated to ceremonial duties and political obscurity. They were often seen as spare tires of government, waiting in the wings in case of an emergency, but otherwise playing a minimal role in the day-to-day operations of the nation. The election of 1800 exposed a critical flaw in the original design of the Electoral College. Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr received the same number of electoral votes. This tie threw the election into the House of Representatives, where it took 36 ballots to finally elect Jefferson as president. This electoral crisis highlighted the need for a clear distinction between the president and vice president on the ballot. In response, Congress passed the 12th Amendment in 1804. This amendment stipulated that electors would cast separate ballots for president and vice president, preventing a repeat of the 1800 debacle. By separating the election of the vice president from the president, it paved the way for candidates to run on a unified ticket, representing a specific political platform and agenda. The 12th Amendment marked a turning point in the evolution of the vice presidency, setting the stage for the office to gradually gain influence and importance. The role began to evolve in the 19th century, particularly with the death of William Henry Harrison in 1841. Vice President John Tyler became the first to assume the presidency, setting a crucial precedent for the line of succession. But even as the office grew in importance, it remained largely in the shadow of the presidency. It wasn't until the 20th century that the vice presidency began to take on more significance. Theodore Roosevelt, who succeeded to the presidency after the assassination of William McKinley in 1901, used the office to launch his own progressive agenda. Harry Truman, thrust into the presidency after Franklin D. Roosevelt's death, would go on to make some of the most critical decisions in American history, including the use of atomic weapons during World War II. The latter half of the 20th century witnessed a significant transformation in the role and perception of the vice presidency. Vice presidents began to take on more active roles, serving as trusted advisors and shaping policy. This shift can be attributed to the increasing complexity of domestic and international affairs. On the domestic front, vice presidents often take on specific policy areas, leveraging their expertise and experience to lead initiatives and advocate for change. For example, Vice President Al Gore played a prominent role in raising awareness about climate change, while Vice President Dick Cheney was the key driver of President George W. Bush's foreign policy. Joe Biden was vice president to Barack Obama for 8 years and was seen as a valued and trusted advisor. His performance as vice president catapulted him to the front-runner position in 2020, where he defeated Donald Trump to become president. Now, in 2024, President Biden has decided to step aside due to his deteriorating health condition. This has opened the way for his vice president, Kamala Harris, to be the Democratic nominee. Her choice of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate has been widely lauded as a smart and effective pick that balances the ticket and gives the Democrats the best chance to keep the White House in November. Donald Trump's choice of J.D. Vance as his running mate hopes to achieve a similar objective by balancing the ticket with someone that is very different from himself. The choice of a running mate is the single most important and impactful decision a presidential candidate can make during the campaign season. From its humble beginnings as a constitutional afterthought, the vice presidency has evolved into a position of significant influence. The modern vice presidency is characterized by active participation in policymaking, close collaboration with the president, and a high degree of visibility on both the domestic and international stage. The office has become a stepping stone to the presidency for some, a platform for advocating for specific causes for others, and a symbol of national unity and progress for all. The role of the vice president is likely to become even more crucial. The 2024 election serves as a reminder of the importance of this office. The choice between Tim Walz and J.D. Vance highlights the potential impact the vice president can have on shaping the nation's future. It is essential to recognize and appreciate the enduring legacy and evolving significance of the U.S. vice presidency. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this content, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, stay curious.